I remember the warm welcome and hospitality we received. In that meeting, we were able to discuss a range of issues critical to enhancing our cooperation. In this 10th session, I hope that we're going to take stock of a number of areas that underpin our bilateral cooperation and hopefully identify new areas in which we can collaborate. We will also have a report from our senior officials on the work that they've done in the past 2 days in preparation for this session. This will allow us an opportunity to give guidance on areas where we still need to have work done. I am pleased that we're beginning to see the active emergence of a number of sectoral committees covering a wide range of areas of bilateral cooperation. These include trade and investment, agriculture and agro-processing, infrastructure development, water resources management, among many others. I'm also thrilled that our teams are working to conclude a framework for cooperation in the defense field. Our experts have also continued to exchange technical visits, to exchange views and experiences. They've undertaken benchmarking exercises and have identified projects that they believe we should support and pursue. I also believe that when we make decisions at Joint Commission meetings, those decisions must be executed. So we should ensure at every JCC that we get an assessment of the degree to which we've implemented previous decisions of the JCC. So I do wish to encourage our officials to ensure that they develop specific work plans so that there is effective implementation. I'm also glad that our officials have led work on concluding a number of memoranda of understanding and that we will sign some at the conclusion of this session today. I believe, Excellency Minister, that our two countries need to greatly increase trade and investment. In this regard, I hope we can encourage partnerships between our private sectors and our state-owned companies, as I referred to today. We need to formally establish and launch a business council, and I'm glad the officials seem to be convinced in this regard. I believe such a structure would go a long way in coordinating and galvanizing trade and investment opportunities. It would also allow our two countries to take advantage of the opportunities provided by the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which will facilitate easier trade. Recently, when in an article I wrote, I said that South Africa was an important trade gateway to Africa. Two journalists in our country wrote a piece about how foolish I am, and that in fact South Africa is not a gateway, Egypt is a better gateway. So you have admirers in our country who consider me very foolish. But I do believe that South Africa is an important gateway to the continent, and I believe that the African Continental Free Trade Agreement provides us with an important blueprint and will be a major contributor to Africa trade integration. The AFCFTA lessens the barriers on trade, seeks to promote preferential trade, and provides an enabling framework which will be mutually beneficial to both our countries and the continent in general. Minister, as you're aware, we are meeting at a time of profound and worrying global developments. The state of global peace, stability, and security is of great concern. The number of conflicts and wars that have erupted recently require us as the international community to be much more vigilant and active, and to redouble our efforts to promote peace, stability, and development. The United Nations, as our premier guarantor of global order as set out in the UN Charter, and all our regional organizations should remain seized and be decisive in addressing these matters. But I believe what we are witnessing is an attack on the global system of multilateralism and its institutions of governance. We are seeing a rise of unilateralism and of an impunity that threatens to erode the very foundations of multilateralism, international law, and the creation of a just and equitable world. We are, as South Africa, deeply concerned about the relentless tragedy that has befallen the people of Palestine. The catastrophe that is happening before our eyes in Gaza and other areas in the Palestinian-occupied territories is really frightening, with a destruction we all view carried out by an occupying state, and that is Israel. And the humanitarian disaster therein is a collective blemish on the moral conscience of the world. We should also not forget the unresolved plight of the people of Western Sahara, whose cause for justice and desire for self-determination remains deferred. Our major challenge as Africa is silencing the guns on our continent. We need to achieve this in order to introduce a stability that will allow higher prospects for development and for achievement of Africa's Agenda 2063. In this context, we reiterate as South Africa the vital importance of dialogue, mediation, and negotiations as vital for the peaceful resolution of conflicts. We believe it's also important not to further delay the reforms needed to transform the United Nations, especially the UN Security Council, and for it to begin to reflect the realities of today. In this endeavor, although North-South collaboration remains important, we believe the Global South should remain united in ensuring that its voice is resoundingly clear. South-South cooperation, in our view, is imperative. It is in this context that South Africa welcomes Egypt into the family of BRICS nations, together with other equally important countries that joined this formation last year. This development further enhances the role the South can play in global matters. Minister, I don't have to remind you at all, as former president of COP, that climate change is a present and immediate challenge that needs our attention and collective responsibility. We once again congratulate Egypt on its excellent hosting of COP27 and the success achieved during your presidency. The impact of climate change is being felt with rising temperatures, flooding all over the world. This is also illustrated by countries that have never experienced flooding, suddenly experiencing massive floods.